Good morning, this is Kathy Withers from Withers Wool, and today I'd like to talk about fall colors since it's fall. It's a very gloomy, kind of gray day, and it's a good day to look at something very colorful. Okay, so this past weekend I went with my husband, my third trip anywhere since this COVID thing. We went to Laryland's Farms, which is here in Maryland, not too far from where I live. And on the way back home, we also stopped at a roadside stand that had lots of different pumpkins. It's been about 4 years since I actually did anything around the fall time period. So I had never seen Warty pumpkins before. And this is a slight variation or grouping of some that I actually ended up picking up because I just thought they were so cool. And, you know, anything that's kind of cool is always going to be kind of unique looking as far as I'm concerned, and it has to have some color inspiration to it. So this is what I call my mood board right here, and it's a selection of the different pumpkins that I picked up. You might have also heard of these pumpkins called knucklehead pumpkins or pimpled pumpkins. You can see that they're not all the same. So now I'm going to go do close-ups, so you might not see quite as much of it. Anyhow, the first one I started with was this nice green one right here. And looking at it, it instantly called to me as a coiled yarn. So these would be the coils, but then I had these huge spots on it, which made me think, super coil. So that's what I ended up doing, and my color inspiration came from there. And the interesting thing is that I went searching through all my stuff, and I didn't have any of that really dark green that's in it, so I had to go hit the dye pot, but it's all still wet right now, so I can't show you that because I don't want to bring it upstairs. I kind of separate my clean stuff from my dirty stuff from my wet stuff, so no wet stuff upstairs. So this came pretty close in terms of colorway, and I'll probably do one more to pick up the darker shade of green just because I thought it was interesting. Then over here, I have the second one that I decided to do, and when I was working on it, or when I originally started picking out colors, I was going after this pumpkin right here, and I came up with something that ended up a lot pinker or rosier than I was actually planning on, but I have another one that's even closer in color, but then I found a kid mohair one that works even better. So I have blended the kid mohair one into a merino one to end up with something that's going to end up looking like that. So I'm playing around with those colors right now. What I'm actually spinning right this minute is this shade of gold right here, and I'm going to do this one as a knotted yarn, and mostly it's because there's so much variation or distance between the knots. So if you don't remember what the knotted yarns look like, this is one that I did a while back. There's got the little knot and a significant smooth space between it. So it will end up kind of looking cool, and it will be all gold. Then I went and pulled my colors for this green one right here, which I think is super cool, and I have not started to spin that one yet because I don't have the dark green. It's drying downstairs. So that will be my next one. I'll blend some dark green into it. Well, you can have all these funky yarns, but you always need something to go with it to kind of either tone it down or give you the opportunity to do a much larger project. So if you look at this particular gourd right here, it's a Warty pumpkin still. You could go with something like that, which is a sport weight yarn, or that one, another sport weight yarn, or this one here, which is a fingering weight yarn. So all of them pick out the color. You can mix and match them together. You can make hats with them. And then if you're in the mood to make something a little more subtle, then in particular like this one right here with the greens and all, you could go with something brown. You could go with something that's a more subtle orange or a more subtle green. So I'm mixing and matching it. So I have kind of variations of each of the different ones. I've actually pulled out to show you what I use. I usually use 10-2 cotton, preferably mercerized. This one is not. This one is. Because the mercerized cotton allows the yarn that you've spun to slide over it easily, and when you're knitting with it, if you don't like the exact placement of your super coil, you can actually kind of slide it a little one way or the other, even after I've washed and set the twist. The gold one here has a really cool one. Now the millspun skeins that I'm showing you now are ones that I have dyed previously. They're not from this year. You can kind of tell when fall comes along, I kind of get a little more inspired than I do the rest of the year. And then a last little comment that I would want to make is that, you know, looking at the variation in colors from fall to summer, because these are all fall colors, except that skein right there looks, when you see the orange part of it, you think, oh, fall. But the yellow portion of it is more of a sunflower and more of the idea of summer. So that kind of led me to my final comments here. And here are 3 skeins of yarn. And the one on the left, this one, could kind of qualify as a fall color because it's got enough of the burnt orange in it and the yellow, and I tied it together with a kind of salmon-y color, brownish color, to create the illusions of bullions here. And bullions would also work for this pumpkin here, or any of the pumpkins actually, because it has that long stretch of regular yarn, and all of a sudden it would have the little pop, just like these little warts on there. These other 2 skeins here, though, I would really call summer colors, because they're a lot brighter and a lot sunnier. Depending on where you live, the colors in the fall will be either very bright if you live in a sunny location. If you're in like the northeast, like I am, you're going to think more towards duller kind of colors, but still within that same tone. And you'll notice that none of the gourds are actually all that bright. So hope you enjoyed this session on pumpkins. I have probably 10 more pumpkins of different varieties that I'm probably going to try to mimic too, but I want to finish this series first. This yarn and this one and all the mill spun are already available online. The feathered yarn that I spun last week is going to go on this morning. So check me out on witherswool.com. Next Thursday, I'll be back with another topic. I haven't chosen it. And next Saturday and Sunday are the Maryland Alpaca and Fleece Show. So you'll find me online then. And I'll be on Withers Wool. And the Maryland Alpaca Show has me scheduled to go live from 9:20 to 9:40 on next Sunday morning. And I'm really grateful for the time zone change, or the time change, because if it didn't, I'd be struggling. I am not a morning person. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.